We have now with us Representative Steve Kulik from the state of Massachusetts, no less, from our district also. Now, Steve Kulik.
Yes, Alex.
What would you say is the most important issue in this current election for both Senate or local district elections or for the presidency?
Well, I think the single most important issue continues to be the economy, both nationally and here in Massachusetts. You know, people are still struggling. Too many people are struggling with employment issues, with you know, home financing issues, and so on. So I think getting people back to work, getting our economy strong, getting manufacturing things, and investing in what are the cornerstones of our economy, particularly in Massachusetts, which in many ways are education, environment and green energy, infrastructure. These are also things that President Obama has been talking about, that as president, if he gets another 4 years, he would work on investing, continuing to invest actually, because he did through the stimulus bill 2 years ago, in things like education, worker training, and retraining, community colleges, infrastructure, and so on. So I think the economy is the single most important issue, but I think it's very closely tied to the character of the people that are on the ballot today, most especially the two races that have gotten the greatest attention for President of the United States and for our United States Senator. And you know, I think you want people of good intelligence and character who will carry out those policies that are important, address the issues that are most important. You know, I happen to think it's Barack Obama and Elizabeth Warren are the ones who have the agenda and the intelligence and the character and the trustworthiness to address those important problems.
Okay, a quick follow-up. What would you say gives Elizabeth Warren or Barack Obama the ability to do these things that would be so important for the economy? What specific policies are they trying to implement in this next upcoming term?
Well, I think they both talked a lot about the values that are important to them and the values that are important to this country. Equal opportunities, education, people having a fair shake in the world, whether it's looking for a job, whether it's competing on an international global economy scale. There are people who I think feel in their hearts they're really committed to carrying out policies that invest in human capital. You know, we have without question, a financial struggle these days. It's better than it was. We've come out of the recession. We've made progress. More people are back to work right now than there were 2, 3, 4 years ago, but it's still not satisfactory. It's still a lot more needs to be done. I think the fact that Barack Obama and Elizabeth Warren both stand on the side of the middle class, I think that their #1 priority is building and maintaining a strong middle class that has job opportunities, has educational opportunities to fulfill what is the American dream and to keep our economy strong. So I think they both have the right outlook, the right values, the right set of experience to accomplish what I think needs to be addressed in this country.
Okay. I'm going to defer to Mia.
Yep.
Mia, hello.
Hi. Okay, so I'm going to skip around here for a moment, just on the topic of economy especially. So we just kind of want to get a feel for your position, and what exactly do you feel, how do you think and what is your opinion on the campaign finances and advertising that's been out there right now, and how people have been spending their money on that, and really, you know, who has the upper hand, you know?
It's a great question. Our system of paying for campaigns, our campaign spending, is an absolute mess. It is broken badly. And it's broken for a lot of reasons. It's never been exactly right. I think money has always had an outsized influence in politics, and we've always spent too much money on it. This is why a decade or more ago I supported an effort in Massachusetts called Clean Elections, which would have provided public financing with limits on spending for political candidates. It would have limited the role of money in politics, which I think distorts and draws away from issues. It draws away it makes politics more polarized, and money should not be the important thing. You know, policies and the individuals who are asking for our votes really should be the #1 thing. And instead, when you're talking about money, it becomes, you know, you're beholden to special interests, and I don't think that's right. You're not beholden to the interests of the people you're asking to vote for you. Now, brings us to 2012, and we have seen an absolutely obscene amount of money spent in this election. I heard a figure of $2 billion total on the presidential race through the Republican primaries and now through the general election. The U.S. Senate race in Massachusetts is about to become the most expensive, certainly by far the most expensive in our history of Massachusetts, but one of the most expensive in the history of the country, $70 million. Most of it is spent on advertising, a lot of it on negative advertising coming from both the Democrats and the Republicans. And I think that obscures what the real issues are that people want candidates to talk about. So, and a lot of the other new wrinkle in 2012 is the Citizens United Supreme Court decision that has allowed huge amounts of unidentified special interest money to be spent on behalf of candidates, independently of candidates, but on behalf of pushing candidates. Most of that advertising is negative advertising. It's targeted to a very narrow interests in the country. And I think, again, it's just, it distorts and takes away from having a real dialogue, an honest dialogue between candidates, between the political parties, about the issues that are important to people. So I think there's way too much money in politics. These campaigns are way too expensive. I don't think the public supports this, but until we can change, in the case of the Citizens United, it's going to take one of two things to reverse that, what I think was a very dangerous and wrongly decided Supreme Court decision. It's going to take either a constitutional amendment, because they said it is constitutional for corporations to spend unlimited anonymous money on political campaigns. So it would take a constitutional amendment to overturn that Supreme Court decision, or it would take a change in the composition, the membership of the Supreme Court, and then another case coming before it that challenges the Citizens United decision and overturns it. So, you know, I think one of the most important things in this election nationally for president is the future of the Supreme Court, and it hasn't been talked about very much in this campaign by either Obama or Romney. And you know, we're looking at the next 4 years, the likelihood of 2 or 3 Supreme Court justices retiring, leaving the court, and being replaced. And if we want the president to be able to appoint justices who will address campaign finance reform and overturn the Citizens United decision, if people think there's too much money in politics, then they really need to support President Obama, because he will appoint judges who will not support the current, you know, financing system we have that would, I think, overturn that decision. I think Romney would would appoint new justices to the Supreme Court who would continue this really obscene view of political money and political contributions as being, you know, free speech and corporate. You know, Romney's the guy who said corporations are citizens too. I just don't believe that. I think corporations are different, and you know, we need campaign finance reform in this country.
So, expanding on the issue of the Supreme Court, would you say that should Obama get another term, and he need to appoint another justice to the Supreme Court, would you say that there should be some sort of litmus test for, say, supporting overturning Citizens United, or, say, keeping Roe v. Wade? Because I know that's a very big issue with the Supreme Court, and people are worried that if Romney gets in office, he might appoint judges that would overturn Roe v. Wade.
Well, he has said that he would. So I assume if Romney were president, he would make that a litmus test issue, because he said, I want to put justices on who will overturn Roe v. Wade. I don't think any president looking at appointing judges, especially to the Supreme Court, should have litmus tests. But what they should have is a clear set of values that they look for in a judge, who will be consistent with the values that these candidates for president have put forward to the people that they've been elected on. So, you know, if President Obama has, and he has spoken out against Citizens United,
right.
He has spoken out for a woman's right to choose, he has spoken out for strong environmental regulation. If he gets another term and gets appointments to the Supreme Court, you know, I assume, and I think rightly so, based on the 2 appointments he's made in his first term, that he would look for judges who aren't going to say to him, you know, he's not going to ask them, will you vote for this way on this issue? But he's going to look for people who have a way of judicial reasoning and a background in the law that I think would lead them to the same kind of conclusion that he does, that informs his policy. So I don't think presidents should ever ask potential justices, how would you vote on this issue? But I think that by reading people's previous judicial opinions and asking them questions about their thought process in the law and their background, I think you can find people who share the same judicial outlook and values that you have as president that are responsible for appointing those people.
Okay, well put.
Great. Okay, so I noticed a lot you were talking about consistency definitely is important and is key to any election. And there's been a lot of controversy over how President Obama has been doing in the last 4 years in his term. So just talk a little bit about that. How do you feel he's done so far, and you know, what do you think, if he got reelected, would be the key things he would need to work on to continue doing his job and kind of giving the people what they want, as well as you know, doing what's right for the nation?
I think he's been a very effective president. I really do. I think you know, he came into a situation that was the worst economy in 60 years since the Great Depression in the 1930s. He came into a situation where we had 2 wars underway, Afghanistan and Iraq, which were not properly paid for. We were losing 800,000 jobs a month in December, January of 2008, 2009 when he took office. We had an auto industry, a critical manufacturing sector of the United States economy that was going under, that was ready to disappear. And he exerted tremendous leadership, I think, in addressing all of those problems. And he's delivered on a number of things. We now have a strong automobile manufacturing industry, which has bounced back and is doing very well. It's put, you know, tens of thousands of people back to work. He's gotten us out of he's ended the war in Iraq. We are winding down with a date certain the war in Afghanistan. We have more than 3 million, I think it's 3 million private sector jobs in the last few years. Unemployment is now below 8%. It had been up around 11%. So the hemorrhaging in the economy that began under the Bush administration has been greatly improved. It's not where it should be. It's not where certainly President Obama predicted it would be after 4 years. But I think the stubbornness in this economy worldwide, not just in our country, has been way more than anyone ever expected. So unemployment is still too high. There still aren't enough job opportunities. There's still not enough manufacturing. But I think if you invest in education, if you invest in infrastructure, you'll bring back a good deal of economic activity. The other thing President Obama, I think, has done is try to work with Republicans in Congress. And Republicans in Congress from day one, even before President Obama took the oath of office, said, we're going to oppose him on absolutely everything. And he did try on several occasions, including the so-called grand bargain of solving our fiscal crisis and long-term deficit issue when he was trying to work with the leadership of the Republicans in the House last year, and was very, very close. But the senators, led by the Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who said his #1 priority as leader of the Republicans in the Senate was to make sure Barack Obama was a one-term president. That overshadowed his responsibility to get the people's business done. And so I think, you know, Barack Obama never has had, or at least certainly for the last 2 years, a willing partner wanting to work together to solve the problems that America faces. I think, should he be re-elected to a second term, I think that will be a message from the American people that they don't want dysfunctional government that doesn't work well for them, that in a second term I think there would have to be a new willingness on the part of Republicans in the Congress to work with the President to solve our deficit and debt problem, our spending and budget problems, to work on entitlement reform, to make sure that Medicare and Social Security are there for seniors in the future, and a lot of these really long-term nagging problems that we have not been able to deal with for the last 4 years, as we have to because of obstructionism by many Republicans in Congress, as well as the ongoing fiscal challenges, which again I think have improved somewhat, but not nearly as much as we have. So I think you will find in a second Obama administration, an ability to drive an agenda more effectively than he was in the first term.
All right. Well, there it is from Representative.
That's okay.
Steve Kulik. Congress, start cooperating. And now we shall take another break. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, and I want to compliment the Frontier students on this project. And I know I've participated in this a couple of years ago, and I think before that. And getting you out and talking to voters and doing this is a great tribute to the community and to what you're doing at Frontier. So thanks for doing it.
Thank you for being here.
Okay. Good. Good questions.
What do you think is the most important issue in this election and why?
Probably the economy, because it's been struggling for quite a while now.
All right. Have you voted in previous elections? If not, what made you want to come out and vote today?
This is my first election. I just turned 18, so I can finally vote.
Sweet.
Yep.
What is your opinion on campaign finance and campaign advertisements?
I think there's like a bunch of advertisements that don't need to be like mailed out. I get advertisements all the time. I think they spend too much money and waste money on that.
It happens. Did watching the presidential debates sway your decision on who to vote for?
No.
All right. How do you feel the president has done so far?
I think he's done okay. We need to make improvements, so it's definitely there.
Yeah. Okay. How has President Obama done with the handling of Hurricane Sandy?
I think he's done a great job. He's worked with FEMA and it's been helpful. Not so much.
Would you like to share who you voted for?
I voted for Obama.
Nice, hey.
Yeah, thanks, hey.
Yeah, we're done, hey. What do you think is or are the most important issue or issues in this election and why?
I think the economy is probably the most important because there are so many people still out of work or looking for a job, or there's many underemployed. But I also think social issues like Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security are right up there with #1 as well, because a lot of people are worried about that, losing them.
Teacher.
Oh, I don't know. She might be. Have you voted in previous elections? If not, what made you want to come out and vote today?
Oh, I voted in every single election, as long as I can remember, since I was 18, which was just a couple years ago.
About 3.
About 3, yeah.
Yeah. What is your opinion on campaign finance and campaign advertisements?
I think that the 2010 campaign finance law, well, the Supreme Court decision, the Citizens United case decision, should be overturned. I don't believe that corporations are people, and I don't believe that so much money in campaigns is necessarily a good thing, because money ends up buying the election.
That's a good answer. Did watching the presidential debates sway your decision on who to vote for?
Absolutely not. It just reaffirmed who I should vote for.
How do you feel the president has done so far?
I think okay, considering the hand he was dealt. I think that given the second term, he needs more time, is my belief.
Yep.
More time is necessary.
How has President Obama done with the handling of Hurricane Sandy?
Very well, very well. Bipartisan, working with Chris Christie very well, so working with New Jersey and New York people very well, getting FEMA on board right away, that was super duper.
And would you like to share who you voted for, Ms. Moore?
Should I?
I don't know.
Should I keep you guessing?
Yeah, I think you voted for McCain.
I voted for President Obama.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.